Is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and it seeks to charge everyone to do better and support those facing this very serious problem.
Domestic violence affects millions of women and men of every race, religion, culture and status. Advocates say nations must take strategic action to curb this menace and end the negative effect, especially on the health and psychology of victims.
Joining us via Skype from Minnesota is Dr. Florence Mbibi, the chairperson, Domestic Violence Committee, National Association of Nigerian Nurses in North America. Thank you very much for joining us at this point.
Yes, good morning, and thanks for having me.
So, all around the world, domestic violence is a major issue, and it cuts across men and women. But we see there's a high reportage of domestic violence cases amongst women. But we know, yes, like I said earlier, it also affects men. So how do we ensure that this situation doesn't affect the next generation, as the kids, the children coming up, especially in the family setting where this is happening?
Yes, thank you. Concepts of domestic violence shows that it starts from homes. So one of the ways we can do this would be to encourage strong family bonds. And then we try to raise the children in a safe environment, because when people grow up, what they see is what they think is right. And you discover that children that are raised in those kind of toxic environment end up exhibiting a lot of anger, a lot of violence in any situation they find themselves. So the whole thing will start from our homes. We try to encourage, strong families, and we try to build relationships, encourage relationship building in most homes to make the homes happy.
Now, speaking it from there, talking about building strong family bonds, we see that, for instance, in Lagos, a lot of parents leave the house quite early and return late. How do you begin to develop this strong bond with your children and your spouse when you're not so readily available?
Well, the decision would be that of the family. In as much as we want we would like the government to create policies that will help families to create those bonds. We know that people will still go out and win bread for their families. Whatever time you have with the family should be a good time, a happy time to build those relationships. Even the children know that daddy and mommy, they all have to go out to work. So you have to make a plan in such a way that these children are going to be engaged. Luckily for us in Nigeria, we have a kind of community where people look out for each other. But we try to make the family unit itself to have quality time together, and and try to make it work depending on our schedule. We have to schedule ourselves in such a way that you create time to have to talk with your kids.
Well, that kind of schedule is not that easy in a country where you have to wake up as early as 4 a.m. and go to work, and you're at work and you have to meet up with targets and goals. Basically, how do you achieve such?
Well, if you have a wife, you could, schedule your activities in such a way that in the daytime the woman is home, in the evening the man is home, so that at each point in time the children have somebody to relate to, because that is where they begin to create that bond and know that family matters.
Right, so the main issue here is prevention. Prevention, they say, is better than cure when it comes to domestic violence. How do you really prevent domestic violence in a home?
Well, we've mentioned trying to have these strong bonds that make the family a cohesive unit. We also need to try to demystify domestic violence. We need to encourage people to discuss it, because sometimes we put so much strain around the topic that people begin to think there's something about domestic violence. So you have to try to have a discussion and talk about these things. If individuals have issues, for those who are abusers, we encourage them to go and seek help. If you have issues with anger, you go for anger management programs. You try to resolve conflict in a timely manner so it doesn't strain the family relationship.
All right, so how's your organization ensuring that awareness is created against violence, domestic violence in the home?
Yes, NANA has about 21 chapters outside the national body, so that every chapter has a domestic violence committee, and members of this committee are champions, people who are, it's either they had lived it or they know it, but they're interested in creating happy families. And we try to have activities for our communities and for our members, because you have to teach yourself and then you'll be able to talk to people outside. So we create relationship building activities that, things that will bring families together. We also encourage our members to know those resources that are out there. We try to use the media also to create all this awareness. And then every chapter committee will begin to make sure that every quarter there is something that is happening in the community that will keep families engaged, that will keep the community engaged, so that this discussion will be ongoing. By so doing, people will talk freely, and those who are victims, we try to give them a voice. We try to encourage them to speak out. There are resources out there. Use these resources and know when to leave and know when to stay back. And then for the abusive partner, we also encourage them to go seek help in whatever form. There are lots of resources out there over here that they can use.
All right, Dr. Ngozi Florence Mbibi, thank you so much for talking to us.
Oh, thank you for having me.